Hi there, my name's Cameron, and today we are talking all about I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jenette McCurdy. Now, I'm sure most of you know, like I know, Jenette from the show iCarly with Miranda Crossgrove. It is an amazing coming-of-age show about 3 teenagers creating a video blog, a video sphere, which is really cool, and it's cool that I'm talking about it in that sort of format as well. This is her newest piece of work. She renounced acting not too long ago, a couple years ago now I would say, and since she has done that, she has focused primarily on her writing. So she's written for the Huffington Post, the New York Times, and now her book, I'm Glad My Mom Died. I guess it would be categorized as a memoir. It is a collection of memories that all sort of serve the purpose of understanding Jenette and Jenette's mom and why she is glad her mom died. So as we make our way through the novel, it's really interesting to see someone that I grew up watching on TV talking about these really raw and real moments of her childhood. So just a brief synopsis of what goes down in the book. So Jenette became a child actress at around the age of 6 by her mom's force. Her mom always wanted to be an actress and therefore lives vicariously through her daughter. Jenette eats, breathes, sleeps acting. It is her main role, and then she therefore becomes the main provider for her family. Her mom is a hoarder, and that is something that really is very impactful in the beginning pages of the novel, is learning that sort of family dynamic that plays along in the McCurdy household. It seems a little rocky. We can see that there's a little bit of abuse going on, and she really dives into what that means because a lot of it is reflection after the fact. So she talks about how after she has grown up, she's not living at home anymore, her mom has passed, she is in a therapy session and realizes that a lot of these things that her mom was doing was abuse. So it's really interesting to see her go from like idolizing her mom in so many ways to like making the statement that she's glad she's dead. It's so interesting. Like, there's no other word to describe it than like, it's so enthralling. I would not expect such an eloquent writing style from someone who's writing their first novel, and for their first novel to be a memoir. I think when I think like this sort of level of writing, I'm thinking someone that's dedicated their entire life to the craft, and it's like kind of all they've done. So it was really like, it really made me think like, whoa, you know, you can be that good. Like, she is so good. She is so concise in all of her words, and she is so eloquent in the ways that she is describing what has happened. She touches on topics not only in detail, but in detail that makes you feel something. It's one thing to like explain something in a way that doesn't create any emotion, but really detailed. But while she may not include every minute little detail in her accounts because they are from when she was younger, the emotion she puts behind the words that she chooses is really important, and I think it's a really great way to showcase how words are tied to so much emotion and how there's so much emotion in writing that we might not notice all of the time. So much of the story is written in these short chapters, the longest one probably about 5 or 6 pages, and I think that that's something that really keeps the reader engaged. In total, I believe there's about 85 of these chapters, but in the end, it doesn't feel like you've read through 85 chapters. It feels like you've read through 85 moments in Jenette's life. You see her struggle with eating disorders and her struggle with alcohol and her struggles with truly understanding who she is when she's not an actor. It's so crazy to think that like so much of your life you can be like one thing. She was put in the box of child actor, that it's really hard once you kind of leave that sort of box you've created for yourself to create a new identity. And I thought that that was really interesting as well, that she was not only able to like uphold who she was in that box in this book, but she's also able to break the box, so to speak. Like, the box is there, but it also isn't, because she really creates that sort of name for herself away from her child acting. There is one moment in the book where she says, like, there's so many of these child actors that is who they are. They're never anything more than that. Like, child actors, if you're a child actor, then your career dies after you hit a certain age, because you either go through a really rebellious period thinking Miley Cyrus type, sort of jumping off the bandwagon, or you stay that perfect child actor. So it's really hard to navigate the waters once you're no longer labeled as a child actor. So I think that she really touched on something that, like, most people would kind of brush over. You know, I had never stopped to think about what it would be like to be a child actor. You know, you always think about, like, oh, the Kardashians and so many other people that embody what we want celebrities to be, but then there are people like Jenette who never wanted to be that. She talks about how even at the age of 8 she didn't want to be an actress, and I think that that's really telling of our society. Her mom wanted something so bad for herself that she put her child through something that she didn't want, and something that she completely resents. So just sort of that dichotomy between trying to please her mom, but also putting all of her feelings and all of what she wanted on hold is, like, really crazy when you think about it, because she would do anything to please her mom. And it's like, well, she was a child, so that's all she ever wanted to do. There was no escape for her. And we see that her dad and her grandparents, while they are there for her and they care for her, they never intervene. And they're like background actors in her sort of play of life. So it was really quite crazy in that regard. And just thinking about it like that, you're kind of like, well, what's going on? Like, why aren't they saying anything? And she never gets into that, which I think is very important for understanding her family as characters, because so much of what you're reading feels so outlandish. It feels like you're reading a fictitious novel in some of the ways that she's portraying what's happening, because she portrays it so eloquently compared to other memoirs that have different undertones and different sort of emotion. But her emotion is so raw and organic that it portrays itself as fiction because it is so well crafted. One quote that I found to be really impactful and a really great way to sort of sum up the entirety of the novel, if you can even do that into just a couple sentences, is this quote Jenette makes on page 67. So it is when Jenette is going for an audition. She's really nervous, and here we go. So, "Don't be nervous, Net," Mom says as she walks over to me. "You've got this." I believe her. I always believe her. My body language shifts immediately. Mom has a way of doing that to me. Just as she can set my body on edge and make me rigid with fear or anxiety, she can also calm me down. She has that kind of power. I wish she'd use it this way more often. That quote like really just speaks to the volumes of anxiety that Jenette's mom would push onto Jenette. And I think that's really crazy that she would never, in the cases of the novel, she would never sort of be that comfort that you would assume a child in the acting world would need. You know, you don't get an audition, you want someone to be there for you, and her mom never really was that. So if there's any one way for me to just sum up that novel in a couple sentences, it is using that quote on page 67. It shows that sort of the difference between what her mom should have been doing and what she ultimately did. Now, it is time to get into my final ratings and reviews of I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jenette McCurdy. First of all, the writing style, the word choice, everything she chooses is so perfect for what she's trying to convey. The writing, a 10 out of 10. I don't think I could pick a better memoir to talk about. Like, it's amazing. She offsets the sort of painful moments of the novel with funnier anecdotal moments. It works together, it works hand in hand. You can't have the sad moments without the happy ones, and you especially see that in her book, that there is such a divide between what is actually happening and how she's trying to lighten the mood through her words. So it was amazing. Like, this is a 5 out of 5 star book. Like, you can't even give it anything else, it's that good. Like, I read it all in one sitting. I was enthralled. I was flipping the pages so quick, it wasn't even funny. Like, her writing is just so natural and organic that it feels like you're kind of just talking to someone and then therefore like learning about them. It was amazing. Yeah, a perfect 5 out of 5 star novel is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jenette McCurdy, and it should be your next read because it is amazing. Whether you know who Jenette McCurdy is, whether if this is your first time hearing about her or the first time you've seen her face on the news when she was doing her press junket, like, you need to read this book. If you are interested in the acting sphere, if you want to become an actor, I would suggest reading this because you learn so much crazy stuff. As a kid that grew up watching Disney and Nickelodeon shows, it was really crazy to learn about this guy she calls the creator in her book. If you have seen Disney and Nickelodeon TV shows, you know that the creator is Dan Schneider, someone who has multiple harassment and abuse allegations. He's a really bad dude, and you learn about how the whole acting sphere as a child actor is full of creators. So it's crazy. Like, you don't want that to be the truth, and you don't want that to be the case, but it is, and it's really hard to ignore once you are made light of this. Like, there were some moments when she's talking in the book about certain scenes that she has to do where, as a kid, just watching it, you don't think anything of it. You're a kid, but now, like, thinking back on those scenes and having seen a couple clips online as she was talking about the book, you really sort of realize, like, what was going on, what the hidden agenda of these shows was, you know? Like, it was such a mature piece of content that was being portrayed to children. So you're really kind of like, well, how has what has happened in these shows and what has happened to Jenette impacted what has happened to other kids? And then you kind of spiral a little, but it's crazy. The only thing I can say, if I could speak to Jenette McCurdy, is thank you for being so brave, sharing your story. I remember when she stepped out of the acting world, and it was kind of a little thing that I saw online every once in a while, and you never really knew. She was just another child actor that disappeared into the background, and she wasn't in the new iCarly reboot, and you're like, what's going on with Sam? That was her character's name. So, like, thank you, Jenette, for being so open and honest about what has happened and what you've been going through, because now that I'm older too, I want to know, you know? Like, it's so weird that to say, like, you want to know what's going on in the lives of these actors, but when you have a sort of connection with them, like, you know, a kid growing up watching iCarly, you kind of want to know, like, what happened to Sam? Where did she end up? Because her second show, Sam and Cat with Nickelodeon, ended so abruptly, and it seemed like everything was pinned on her. I really wanted to get her perspective on it, and getting that was so intriguing. It was so interesting. It was amazing. So yeah, those are all of my thoughts on I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jenette McCurdy, and I have to say, a 5 out of 5 star novel. You should read it if you get the chance. So good. You can borrow my copy. I will lend it, if I know you. Anyways, that is the video. Thank you for watching. If you are new here, there's a subscribe button that I feel weird telling you to press, but you should, I think, if you enjoyed this one. If I do know you, please ask to borrow this because I will give it to you. Anyways, thank you for watching and spending your time listening to me talk about another book this week. Anyways, bye!